So I'm going to attempt to do section 5.4 in 2 sections as opposed to 3. So I'm just going to jump in, do the theory kind of on the fly. So all the problems in section 5.4 have 3 terms, so they're trinomials. Unlike the problems in section 5.3, there's a number in front of the x squared term, and there's no GCF to make it so I can rewrite the problem so there wouldn't be a number in front of the x squared term. If you went to like Sandra Day or Mountain Ridge, you might factor using bottoms up for this kind of problem. If you remember that method, you're welcome to use it. I used to teach bottoms up factoring, and students would always forget a step. And bottoms up factoring, if you forget to factor out a greatest common factor, and there is, if the problem has a greatest common factor, you get the wrong answer. So I'm just going to jump into this. Step 1, multiply, I'll just call them the outside numbers. In some settings, we would call this multiply the a and the c. I'll write that down parenthetically just in case you're at all familiar with the quadratic formula. These are numbers. A is the coefficient of the squared term. B is the coefficient of the first power term. And C is the constants. I'm going to multiply the A and the C, or the outside numbers, without the x's. That's the number I'm going to use with my template. Now I'm going to search my template for signs. And I'm going to write down factors of this with the appropriate signs. What I'm doing for this problem is I'm going to rewrite it with 4 terms and factor by grouping. Since the 30 is positive, well, since the problem has a plus and a plus, I need double plus factors of 30. That same sheet that I've been using, I'm going to use it again. The factors of 30, I'm going to write down 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. So my template told me I need double plus. Multiplying the outside numbers tell me what number they need to multiply by 2. Now I'm going to add up the numbers. I'm going to add 1 and 30 and get 31, 2 and 15 and get 17, 3 and 10 and get 13, 5 and 6 and get 11. Find the desired pair next. Find the desired pair. And of course, just like when we did grouping factoring in section 5.3, the desired pair is going to give me the 13, which is going to be the 3 and the 10. So now I'm going to, in this problem, rewrite the 13x using those 2 numbers, 3 and 10. That's all the side work that I need to do. Now I've figured out a way that I can rewrite the problem with 4 terms that will work, that grouping will work with. So that 13x, I can make it 10x plus 3x, or I can make it 3x plus 10x. That doesn't matter. So my problem started with 3 terms. I'm transforming it to have 4 terms. And now I'm going to group. First 2 terms in a parentheses, second 2 terms in a parentheses. First 2 terms, my common factor is an x. I'll factor out an x and be left with a 5x plus 3. Second 2 terms, my common factor is a 2. I'll factor out a 2 and be left with a 5x plus 3. So that common factor factoring comes up again and again and again. Now I'll write my answer. I'm going to write the common parentheses first, followed by what's in front of the common parentheses. So all these sections are so tightly tied together. Let me check. For checking, I'm going to FOIL. I'm going to do firsts are 5x times 1x, and that's going to be 5x squared. Outers are 5x times 2, that's going to be plus 10x. Inners are 3 times x, that's plus 3x. There's the numbers that I used. And last, 3 times 2 is 6. This is going to give me 5x squared. Add the 10x and 3x plus 13x plus 6. Matches the original problem perfectly, so my answer is correct. In theory, that's all I need to say. But in reality, I should do a bunch more problems to make sure we can get this strategy down. Let's do 7 together. If you are comfortable factoring this and you factor in your head, which is how I factor, or you factor using bottoms up, if you're getting the right answer and you know how to factor this already, you're not obliged to learn this method. If you know another method and it works and you're happy with it, use it. If you don't know another method, I like this method because it makes the sections consistent with each other, and it makes it so I'm not learning 8 million techniques. So I'm going to start by multiplying the outside numbers. In this case, I'm going to multiply the first number 4 with the constant 3 and get 12. And this is a minus plus. The numbers that I'm going to search for now are double minus numbers. So the factors of 12 I'm going to write down are minus 1 and minus 12. Those multiply out to be 12 and they're double negative. Minus 2 and minus 6 multiply out to be 12, double negative. Minus 3, minus 4. That's kind of really, there's an extra step here. I need to figure out what number I need to multiply to. I find the factors, and now I start adding those factors up to see if I can find the pair. So I do negative 1 plus negative 12, which is negative 13. Negative 2 plus negative 6, which is negative 8. Negative 3 plus negative 4, which is negative 7. So the pair that I need are negative 3 and negative 4. I'm going to rewrite now the negative 7x to set myself up for grouping. I'm going to write negative 7x, which is the middle term, as negative 3x plus negative 4x. And I would rather write it as negative 3x minus 4x. Plus a negative is the same as minus a plus. There's all the side work I needed. I did all the steps for side work. Figured out what my target number was, got my signs, figured out the factor, figured out the pair that worked, decided how I was going to rewrite the original problem to have 4 terms. The order is completely independent here. It doesn't matter. Your work will look remarkably different than mine, but if you flip-flop the 4x and the 3x, you'll get the same answer. It's just the work will look surprisingly different. Now that I have the problem written with 4 terms, I introduce my parentheses. The negative I stuff in the second parentheses. That's just how we factor when the second sign is negative. For my first pair, I'm going to factor out an x and be left with a 4x minus 3. Second pair doesn't have a common factor. Both terms don't have an x, and the biggest number that divides evenly into 4 and 3 is 1. But the first term is negative, so I'm going to factor out a negative 1. When I factor out a negative 1, I just switch the signs. The negative 4x turns to positive 4x. The positive 3 turns to negative 3. And now I'm ready to write my answer. I write the common parentheses first, followed by what's in front of the common parentheses. But if you don't like that, anytime you have factoring answer, as long as the parentheses are identical, you can flip-flop the order. So hopefully this isn't bad, because if you learn this the first time, then it's not necessarily new. So this was number 7, just to harp on that, just to make sure. Bad habit of not writing the number down and just kind of pointing at the number. I'm going to do 10 on this page. To get started with 10, I'm going to multiply the 2 and the -7. So I do 2 times -7. My target number is -14. So in a second here, I'm going to write down numbers that multiply out to be -14. And the signs are going to be plus and minus. The larger number is going to be plus. The smaller number is going to be minus. The factors of 14 that I know, larger number plus, smaller number minus, would be 7 and -2. That multiplies out to -14, larger number plus, smaller number minus, and 14 and -1. Those are available on my sheet that you're of factors that you could use on the test. Now I need to find out the pair that I need. I'm going to add the 7 and -2. I'm going to add the 14 and -1. 7 plus -2 is 5. 14 plus -1 is 13. Trying to get the 13, so I know I need the 14 and the -1. I'm going to rewrite the 13z, and when there's both a positive and a negative, I write the negative first, the positive second every time. It makes this factoring easier. So I'm going to make my life as easy as I can, and I'm going to rewrite the 13z with the -1z first, the positive 14z second. It's all my side work that helps me decide how to rewrite the problem. So I'm going to rewrite this as 2z squared minus 1z plus 14z minus 7. Introduce a parentheses. Introduce a parentheses. The sign stays in front of the second parentheses when there's a plus there. Now, common factor a z from the first parentheses. Common factor a 7 from the second parentheses. And when you do this step, you have to get identical parentheses. If you do not get identical parentheses, you have a mistake in your work. And now I can write an answer. And of course, I can flip-flop the order as long as one of my parentheses has a z plus 7 and the opposite parentheses has a 2z minus 1. Makes no difference whatsoever what order that we write our answers in. Let's do one of yours. Let's see which one looks harder. I think 13 looks harder. The numbers are bigger, so let's attack 13. So in 13, I'm going to get started by multiplying the 6 and the 7. I don't need to look at my template. Plus, plus, there's no need for any minuses. So the number that I'm targeting is 42. So I'm going to search for the factors of 42. Got to be somewhere on this sheet. If I can hunt, they're down there. It's like it's more blurry. Ugh. Let me try it again. Better. So 42 is 1 and 42. It's 2 and 21. It's 3 and 14. It's 6 and 7. I need the pair that gives me 23. So did first step, second step, and now I'm going to add these. Go 1 plus 42. 2 plus 21, 3 plus 14, 6 plus 7. I don't need to do every sum. In fact, I don't even need to write this down if I can know the pair. So I abbreviated, and I didn't write down every sum because I'm just trying to find the 23. This is going to allow me to rewrite 23x as 2x plus 21x. Wouldn't make the least bit of difference if you wrote 21x plus 2x. It just happened this way for me when I wrote down the factors. So I can rewrite the problem with 4 terms, 6x squared plus whichever one I decided to write first of the 2x and 21x, plus the alternate one, plus 7. Parentheses in for factoring by grouping. First parentheses, I'm going to pull out a common factor of 2x, be left with a 3x plus 1. Second one, I'm going to pull out a common factor of 7 and be left with a 3x plus 1. So hopefully you can factor by grouping without me going through each step. That's really crucial to be able to do. Once I get a duplicate parentheses, I can write my answer. And I should have written 3x plus 1 there. It's going to be 2x plus 7 and 3x plus 1 in whatever order I decide on. This looks just like yours. Let's do 17. So 17, I'm going to start off and multiply the 5 and the 6. Be nice for you to pause the video and give this a go yourself. So I start off multiplying the 5 and 6 and I get 30. I need double plus factors of 30. No need to write all the factors down. If I know the pair, I can just do this. I can say the only pair that I need are 10 and 3 and abbreviate my steps. As a matter of fact, I could even not show this and do it in my head. But I'm trying to show you just in case where everything's coming from. But trimming it up like this, instead of writing all the factors of 30, figuring out all the double plus factors of 30, figuring out the pair that I need, I certainly can trim up my work quite a bit. So I'm going to rewrite the 13x, make the problem have 4 terms, set up for factoring by grouping. You could have the 3x first and the 10x second. Your work will look different, but your answer will be the same. Do my double common factoring. If you don't get duplicate parentheses, then you messed up somewheres, because you got to get duplicate parentheses, and this is what the strategy off to the side is forcing to happen. It's forcing the common parentheses to happen. So it's very repetitive, so hopefully you're starting to see that it's repetitive and it's not humbling. I'm going to jump and do a part 2, even though we're only at 19 minutes, because the next part's probably going to take another 20-some minutes.